the affairs of the royal family tells you that we are living in quite bizarre times.
To be simply Andrew Mountbatten Windsor with no letters after his name, no styles before his name, and to lose those military connections as well will really sting.
King Charles is very keen to move Andrew and his ex-wife Fergie on. He doesn't want them to live there anymore.
Ever-evolving soap opera, that is, of course, what's happening over at Royal Lodge.
New reports reveal that Prince Andrew secretly told Jeffrey Epstein, "We are in this together," and expressed concern about newspaper revelations publishing photos with his alleged victim. But that bombshell from years ago is nothing compared to what's happening right now at Windsor, because the disgraced former prince has reportedly launched into a new phase of stubborn resistance as King Charles continues systematically stripping away what little remains of his old life. The eviction from Royal Lodge should have been straightforward. A simple, quiet transition to a modest residence on the Sandringham estate, a small property appropriate for a man who has brought colossal embarrassment to the monarchy. But instead, Andrew has decided to make life as difficult as possible for the palace by issuing a list of demands that would be shocking coming from anyone, much less someone stripped of royal duties. But here's what makes this situation genuinely astonishing. Andrew is reportedly insisting on retaining a full roster of royal caliber staff, including a private cook, housekeeper, secretary who also performs butler duties, and a team of gardeners to maintain his lifestyle. And he's demanding what he calls the right to roam on the estate where he'll be placed, refusing to be confined to whatever cottage he ends up in, expecting freedom of access to grounds and outdoor spaces despite being banned from riding on Windsor Castle grounds to keep him out of public view. Once you understand why palace insiders believe Andrew holds far more influence than the public realizes, not through titles, but through decades of information about every royal feud and crisis, why he recently declined cooperation with United States Congress regarding his history with Epstein, and what one insider meant when they bluntly stated that Andrew may no longer have rank, but he still has reach because he's a man with nothing left to lose, and the palace knows it, you'll realize this isn't just a house relocation. It's a chess match where one wrong move could trigger the kind of revelations the monarchy has desperately worked to keep buried for decades.
King Charles is battling with Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson to convince the Yorks to move out of the Royal Lodge.
This is a prince who had, until all this stuff happened, you know, he was decorated for his military career.
What's happened with Andrew losing his title and now her losing Duchess of York, it just proves that the York brand is totally toxic.
He's living in disgrace. He was stripped of his royal duties, and part of that is he's not really being paid by the monarchy anymore because he doesn't complete any royal duty.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the disgraced former prince, has reportedly launched into a new phase of stubborn resistance as King Charles continues systematically stripping away what little remains of his old life. The eviction from Royal Lodge should have been the definitive end of this chapter. A simple, quiet transition to a modest house on the Sandringham estate, a small property appropriate for a man who has brought colossal embarrassment to the monarchy through years of scandal. Instead, according to multiple new reports, Andrew has made the strategic decision to make life as difficult as possible for palace officials managing this transition. When King Charles formally removed his brother's remaining titles and finally served that long-awaited eviction notice, it signalled what should have been the closing of a chapter that had dragged on for years. Royal Lodge has been Andrew's sanctuary for more than 2 decades, an expansive multi-million-pound estate that he has gripped with absolute determination. The palace has now made its position crystal clear. Andrew is leaving. He will be relocated to a smaller, substantially less glamorous house on the Sandringham estate by 2026. Andrew was reportedly shocked into giving up his titles after King Charles threatened to take even further action. Sources close to the situation indicate the king spelled out to his younger brother in unmistakable terms that he must voluntarily resign or he would be forcibly pushed, with decisive further action reportedly on the table. To the general public, it seems straightforward. Move him out. Move him on. Close this embarrassing chapter definitively. But Andrew is proving that nothing is simple when it comes to him. According to detailed reports, including coverage from the Daily Mail, Andrew is insisting on retaining a full roster of royal caliber staff, despite his changed circumstances. He wants a private cook, a dedicated housekeeper, a secretary who also performs butler duties, and a complete team of gardeners to maintain his lifestyle at the level he's accustomed to. It's genuinely astonishing. This is a man who has been completely stripped of public duties, a man no longer representing the crown in any official capacity, a man whose scandals forced the palace into years of intensive damage control. Yet he is reportedly demanding staffing levels that would be equivalent to senior working royals, insisting that he remains the son of a queen and the father of 2 princesses, and therefore entitled to all the traditional trappings of royal status. And that's far from the only demand he's making. One of the most startling claims emerging from palace sources is that Andrew wants what he specifically calls the right to roam on the estate where he will be placed. He absolutely refuses to be confined to whatever cottage he ultimately ends up in. He expects complete freedom of access to the grounds, walkways, and outdoor spaces. The problem is that Andrew has been explicitly banned from riding horses on the Windsor Castle grounds. This measure was reportedly taken specifically to keep him out of public view and to avoid unwanted photographs of him casually riding around Windsor while stripped of all titles and privileges. But sources close to the situation claim he is actively pushing back against these restrictions. He wants autonomy. He wants freedom of movement. He wants the lifestyle of an active royal without possessing the title or the institutional authority. Insiders claim Andrew is being exceedingly difficult throughout this entire negotiation process. He is reportedly refusing to give up ground on staffing requirements, estate access, and financial guarantees. The palace wants a simple, clean transition. Andrew wants terms, conditions, and assurances. This is a man who has lost almost everything, yet clings fiercely to the remnants of privilege he believes remain his birthright. His stance is absolutely not one of quiet acceptance. It is one of active negotiation, resistance, and strategic pressure. And now we reach the part that makes this situation far more tense than surface appearances suggest. Behind the scenes, this isn't just about housing arrangements. It's fundamentally also about money and long-term financial security. Years ago, the palace quietly cut Andrew's annual allowance, leaving him to grapple with the financial consequences of his dramatically reduced circumstances. Insiders now claim he has been making repeated appeals for substantially more financial support. He believes he should maintain the lifestyle he enjoyed before everything collapsed publicly. He has reportedly argued for a budget similar to what he received as a senior working royal, even though he no longer performs any official duties whatsoever. This financial tug-of-war is said to be one of the most contentious points in the entire negotiation. The palace does not want to bankroll him indefinitely. Andrew wants long-term guarantees. He wants institutional protection. He wants to know with certainty that when Prince William eventually ascends the throne, his funding will not be reduced further or removed entirely. That concern alone reveals how genuinely precarious his position truly is. Some royal commentators and palace insiders believe Andrew holds far more influence than the general public realizes, not through official titles or institutional status, but through information accumulated over decades. He has spent his entire life inside the heart of the monarchy. He knows every significant feud, every institutional crisis, every scandal that was handled behind closed doors and never made public. And so does his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, who shared his life for decades. Insiders privately worry that if Andrew ever feels completely abandoned or betrayed by his family, he could choose to speak publicly. Whether through a tell-all memoir or a poorly timed interview, he could reveal stories the palace has worked tirelessly to keep from ever becoming public. One insider phrased the dilemma bluntly. Andrew may no longer have official rank, but he still has reach. He is a man with nothing left to lose, and the palace knows it. That is precisely why every step of this eviction has been slow, careful, and extraordinarily cautious. They are not simply relocating him like any other resident. They are managing a potential threat to institutional stability. The monarchy is trapped in a genuinely difficult position. They want him physically removed from Windsor, but they cannot push too hard or too fast. They want stability and closure, yet they must avoid provoking a new wave of damaging headlines. They want to protect the carefully managed image of the crown while navigating a man who still expects deference despite losing all authority. This is not just a house relocation, it is a strategic chess match. One wrong move could lead to institutional disaster. While the palace has tried meticulously to control the narrative, Andrew delivered yet another complication recently. The United States Congress formally requested his cooperation for a transcribed interview related to his documented history with Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew declined. No comment, no cooperation, nothing. It was a bold move that only reinforces the established pattern. When faced with accountability, he withdraws. When offered the chance to clarify his position, he refuses. When external pressure builds, he retreats behind strategic silence. And the timing could not possibly be worse from a public relations perspective. On top of his refusal to speak with Congress, Andrew was recently spotted being escorted out of Royal Lodge in a manner that raised significant eyebrows among observers. Reports claim he was deliberately hidden in the back seat of a vehicle, tucked away from cameras, almost completely concealed from view. He was described as being quietly smuggled out of the estate, shielded from photographers, as if trying to disappear entirely. The same man who once appeared at royal events with confidence and entitlement, now he's reduced to a shadow behind a car door, slipping through side exits and service entrances. It tells the story better than any words could. Andrew's world has genuinely shrunk. His influence has evaporated in official terms. His public appearances are rare and deliberately hidden. Yet even from the shadows, he continues to negotiate and make demands. His sense of entitlement is genuinely alarming to those managing the situation. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor may have lost his titles, his privileges, his home, and his public role, but he is absolutely not going quietly into obscurity. He is negotiating, resisting, pushing boundaries, and leveraging whatever influence he has left through information and family connection. His demands, as outrageous as they appear to outside observers, are allegedly being seriously considered by palace officials who understand the delicate nature of the situation. The palace desperately wants closure. Andrew wants protection and guarantees. Until those two goals somehow meet, the drama continues indefinitely. That's it for today, folks. See you in the next video.